Welcome back. Day 13 was epic, absolutely epic. I did get a very good opportunity actually to see all of the matches yesterday. Well, the two matches, both of which had another match happening in parallel. And I got to tell you, I needed a little bit of a lie down after each of them. It was it was great stuff with that. Let's get straight into it. The hot topics for today. Uruguay are out, but was it a case of karma for Uruguay? Because, of course, they were up against Ghana. Very infamous meeting between the teams back in 2010. South Korea are so entertaining. Like, this is a hot topic. If we hadn't realized it by now, they are a fantastic team to watch. They basically throw the kitchen sink at everything. Fantastic once again from South Korea, and they kept us going right to the end with a very late goal against Portugal. Switzerland and Serbia was a very fiery affair. My God, yeah, it was fiery indeed. Brazil lose. This is a shocker. Brazil have actually lost. Brazil are quite a boring team as well, it would look like. We can get into that. And then the last 16 lineup is complete, and we have two matches today. So it doesn't stop there. But what does stop is the four matches in a row. So we're not, well, four matches in a row, four matches in one day. We're not having four matches in one day anymore. That's over. That part of our life, we need to move on. We need to wait another 4 years for football extravaganza. Four matches in one day, not happening for a little while again. But that's okay. After all the excitement of the final group games, I think we would really appreciate the opportunity to relax just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, with that, I'm going to bring you straight into the results from yesterday. I'm starting off with Group H because actually that happened in the afternoon before anything else. We had, of course, Ghana versus Uruguay, the big grudge match, and South Korea versus Portugal. And as you can see there, Uruguay came through 2-0 against Ghana and South Korea 2-1 versus Portugal. But more interestingly, when we look at the table, now I had a feeling that South Korea could achieve something against Portugal because Portugal really weren't in too much danger of losing top spot. It was possible, but they probably weren't going to lose top spot. And I think that the performance they put in probably reflects that, but it shouldn't take away from what South Korea have done. So it's South Korea who finish on 4 points behind Portugal, 6 points. And we have Uruguay who finish on 4 points as well. Exact same goal difference, but in terms of goals scored, South Korea were slightly superior to Uruguay, and that's why they go through. And Ghana yesterday had a chance of going through. They are last in the group, as is very common for these final group games. It can just go crazy sometimes. Very, very difficult sometimes just to figure that out what way it's going to be. But that's the way it was. Okay, talking about the matches, yes, Ghana versus Uruguay was a grudge match. And so before we get into anything, we have to think back to 2010 when Luis Suarez saved a shot off the line with his hand in the last minute of the match, or basically the last minute was going into injury time. It would have been a certain goal. Luis Suarez got a red card. He was sent off. Ghana proceeded to miss the penalty, something they actually did again yesterday. They missed a penalty as well against Uruguay when it was still 0-0. And then it went to a penalty shootout, I think, after that, and Uruguay won and Ghana went out. So since that point in time, Luis Suarez has been the devil to Ghanaians, and you can understand why. He basically stopped a certain goal by doing something illegal. Now, where I feel this all starts to fall apart is the fact that Suarez did it. Sure, okay, we hold our hands up, and I'm not a big Suarez fan by any means. I'm a Manchester United fan, so I never liked Suarez because he was Liverpool and he used to bite people as well. So those two combinations of things don't make for likability in my book at least. We can forgive the Liverpool thing maybe, but the biting, pretty hard because he's not a 2-year-old child. Okay, and even that's not acceptable. Anyway, I'm getting completely off topic. Let me get back on topic. He saved the ball with his hand. He did get a red card, and he did get banned accordingly. He was out then for Uruguay's next match. Obviously, he wasn't on the field to take a penalty, everything else like that. So he was justly punished for what he did. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he took his punishment. So in a sense, there was nothing unfair. This this wasn't the same as the Thierry Henry handball against Ireland. Yeah, I know. We'll never let it go. We'll never let it go. But he got away with that, and as a result, France went through. It wasn't necessarily the fact that it put Ireland out. It was that France went through. Ireland would have still had to score to go through in that, but at least it would have been a draw, and it could have gone to penalties and whatever else. So yeah, I'm not buying this that Luis Suarez is the devil. But anyway, whether or not it was karma, it was Luis Suarez that was the one in tears at the end. And the reason I don't believe it was karma, because Ghana didn't do this. Ghana lost the match, and Ghana are out of the World Cup as well. They actually had a chance to go through here before this match started. So Ghana lost out big time as well. So this isn't karma as far as I'm concerned. Some people want to sell it that way, and if they want to run with that narrative, perfect, absolutely fine. Let them off. Let them off. Korea then, as you can see, did get the win against Portugal. So let's firstly have a look at the stats between Ghana and Uruguay. As I said, Ghana missed a penalty pretty early on, about it must have been about 28, 29, 30th minute. It was just before Uruguay scored. So this, by the way, apologies in advance. I'm going to destroy this name. Georgian de Arrasqueta. Arrasqueta, please mark me out of 10 on my pronunciation. I'm guessing I'm at about a 2 at the moment. He scored both of the goals, and Suarez was instrumental in assisting some of that. Looking at possession, quite similar. Ghana slightly more on top. The goals obviously tells a story about Uruguay winning, but it was all Uruguay. If you look at the attempts on goal, 12 versus 9 for Uruguay. On target, importantly, 7 versus 4. Uruguay looked the most likely to win this match. They had several attempts to get a third or a fourth goal and potentially go through. I think if they got a third goal, they would have gone through ahead of South Korea. Very controversial call at the end for a penalty. To be honest with you, if you go by the law or the letter of the law, it was a penalty. But the player, his name is escaping me for some reason. Why is that? He looks like Jesus. You know the one I'm talking about, Cavani. That's it, Cavani. He played for the penalty, and he solicited the foul. Let's put it that way. VAR wasn't having any of it, strangely enough, because I've seen them give penalties for lesser offences, but that's how it worked out. I'm not saying any foul play or anything like that. Let's get very quickly then onto Korea versus Portugal. Portugal opened the scoring. It was Horta in the 5th minute. Then Kim Young-won, one of the defenders, actually scored in the 27th minute. And then the 91st minute, it was Hwang who got the winner. And that match was epic. It was epic. So there was a lot going on there. Portugal had the higher possession, as you can see. But Korea, very well set up, as you would imagine. Great team accountability and everything else like that. In terms of the attempts on goal, you can see this is where it's very even, 12-12, but actually more on target coming from South Korea, off target more from Portugal, and you can see it's quite even inside and outside the penalty area as well in terms of that. But it was a real team effort. It was a real push from Korea to get there, and they got their just rewards. And I really look forward to their next match in this tournament now. Okay, from there, let's go to the Brazil, Switzerland, Cameroon, Serbia group. And this is how it finished up there. So we saw Cameroon surprisingly beat Brazil with an injury time goal, an injury time winner. So Brazil weren't that impressive there. It wasn't all smooth sailing for Brazil either, because they weren't necessarily guaranteed to go through in first place. If Switzerland had another goal or two, things could have been very, very different there. And then Serbia 2 versus Switzerland 3. That was a thriller. That was a thriller. Love that match. I really enjoyed it. I spent most of my time watching that one. I did eventually get a dual screen set up where I got to see the end of both of the matches at the same time. But Serbia and Switzerland had a little bit of everything. There was a real bite to that game. You could tell there was hard challenges going in. There were a few yellow cards. I was convinced there was going to be a red card. There actually wasn't a red card in the end. There were scuffles, there were fights, there was controversy. No red cards, so that's good at least. Yeah, and it was Switzerland that came out on top. Switzerland initially opened the scoring, and then Serbia hit back with 2 goals. Switzerland evened it up before halftime, and then there was just 1 goal in the second half that resulted in the win for Switzerland. Both teams had plenty of chances to score again. It was just such an entertaining match, I have to say. And how that turns out is we have Brazil and Switzerland both finishing on 6 points. I'm a little annoyed with this because I had tipped Switzerland to finish in this group ahead of Brazil. After Brazil beat Switzerland 1-0, I was like, yeah, well, this probably isn't going to happen. Little did I realize that we were going to have all of the final day dramatics that we've had so far. But Brazil are through as winners, and then Switzerland will be through in second place. Cameroon actually take third place by virtue of their win over Brazil, but they're not going through, obviously. And their goal scorer got sent off, believe it or not, for his goal celebration as well. So we're starting out here with Serbia versus Switzerland, just looking at the stats from this match. So as I said, it was Switzerland that took the lead. It was Shaqiri in the 20th minute. Then 2 goals from Mitrovic and Vlahovic. And it was Embolo that got the goal just before half-time. And then just after half-time, Freuler scored. And that's it. And please don't judge me on my pronunciation of those names either, because I know it's not perfect. Not perfect. Stats pretty similar in terms of possession. Attempts on goal, once again, pretty similar. Slightly more attempts coming from Switzerland. Importantly, more shots on target, and of course, as we know, they did score more goals. But that was about it. It was a tight affair. Maybe we should have a quick look at the discipline. So 7 yellow cards versus 4 yellow cards, and fouls 18 versus 13. You can see, yeah. So it was a niggly affair, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then that brings us on to Cameroon versus Brazil. It was that man again. He scored that super goal in the second match as well for Cameroon. Aboubakar. Yes, I think I've said it better this time. So Vincent Aboubakar, a great player, absolutely fantastic. Epic goal, a lovely crossing, and he headed it as far as possible from the goalkeeper, with it still being on target. And it was beautiful, beautiful goal. He already had a yellow card. He took off his jersey to celebrate, and he got a red card as a result. So he would miss the next game if Cameroon were going through, but they knew at that stage they weren't going through, so it wasn't too much of an issue. Brazil had the majority of the possession, as you can see, 56% versus 31%, with 13% in contention or in contest between both of the teams. The attempts on goal tells a story towards Brazil. They did have certainly a lot of shots, although only 6 of those was on target versus 3 from Cameroon. But it was all Brazil, to be perfectly honest with you. Cameroon, though, got that decisive goal at the very end of it all. Now, speaking of Brazil, we do probably need to talk about their injury crisis that they're having at the moment. So, yes. Oh yeah, well, I forgot to say in terms of the hot topics, Brazil did lose. Yeah, very well pointed out. Brazil have lost. So Brazil have been a little bit of a boring team in all of this. See now if I can get us back to the screen share here, and if I can come back to the group stage, I'll just try to illustrate what I mean here. Goal difference was only 2, but Brazil in total scored 3 goals during the group stage. That's not very Brazil-like. And they struggled actually to get that goal against Switzerland. They had a lot of chances, but eventually it was Casemiro that stepped up and saved the day. So this is a somewhat more boring Brazil than we're used to. Now I know Neymar is out and everything else. And then speaking of injuries and the injury crisis, so for Brazil, they have 2 further injuries that they picked up during yesterday's match. So it was Alex Telles and Gabriel Jesus both picked up injuries, as you can see here, this is bad news for Brazil moving forward, because obviously their player pool is not as big as it should be as a result of that. And coupled with that, they already had injuries that were picked up. So I think Alexandro already had an injury. We're well aware of Neymar being injured as well. And I think there is another player as well that has an injury, Danilo. So Danilo also has an injury for them. And speaking of the man himself, Neymar, and whether or not Neymar would be back for the next match. So the Brazil team doctor has actually admitted that Neymar faces a race against time to be fit for the match in the last 16 on Monday, and they're playing South Korea. Should be a thriller. I'm really looking forward to that one once again. But Neymar may not actually make it, so that's certainly not going to be ideal if that is the case. And so more struggles coming in there. Um, and yeah, what can we do? What can we do? We'll see. We'll see if he turns up to that match. And then very finally, let's get on to this setup or this lineup for the final stages, the last 16, the knockout stages. And by the way, we are likely to see penalty shootouts from this point forward. So let's have a very quick look at that. Where are we going? Knockout stage. Yes, so the final 16 has been set up. So we've Netherlands versus USA. That's on today. US have a very good chance in that match. You'd have to fancy Netherlands, but US have a great chance. They're not going to get a better chance, as in the Netherlands didn't look that strong in the group stages. Argentina versus Australia. Once again, you'd fancy Argentina to win that. Australia, though, have showed great team spirit. Japan versus Croatia then on Monday. That's intriguing. That's certainly intriguing. And as I mentioned, we have Brazil versus Korea coming up as well, and we'll see if Neymar makes it back for that one. England versus Senegal, that's on tomorrow on Sunday. And I think England will do it, but it's going to be a very tight match. Then we have France versus Poland as well tomorrow. France, I fancy to come through there based on the performances I've seen from both teams so far. Anything can happen, though, in one-off knockout stages. Morocco versus Spain on Tuesday. Can't wait to see that one. And Portugal versus Switzerland. It'll be interesting for sure. It'll be a good one. But I think that's everything we have right now. So we should be totally up to speed. As ever, thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also like the video and hit the bell as well if you want to be notified of future videos. And I will speak to you very soon.